meeting to order, so hold on just a moment. Okay. You're good. Welcome.
Let us proceed with the roll call first. We'll get the meeting underway. And then Angela has brought us some good information I think we ought to see as a body. Ms. Peckles. Madam Clerk.
Okay, you ready for roll call?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Today's roll call, Ms. Backus. Here. Present. Mr. Bryant. Here. Mr. France. Here. Mr. Fouché. Present. Mr. Gaines.
Here.
Mr. Lewis.
I believe it's possible he is still out of the state.
Okay. Mr. Palmer. Here. Mr. Pearson. Here. Mr. Powell. Present. Ms. Robinson. Present. Ms. Wilhelmy.
Present.
All are present with the exception of Mr. Lewis.
Thank you. All right, if we can rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Did everyone receive, I've got so much paper floating around here, did everyone receive copies of the minutes of the last meeting? And were there any changes that you would like to suggest?
Madam Chair, we have one change, the correction of Mr. Gaines' name.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am.
I also have a correction.
I was thinking of the detergent.
And Mr. Palmer.
I'm sorry. It was the detergent.
Yes, my name is Will. I'm A. Palmer. F. Palmer is a relative.
Lena, there was one more change. Mr. Palmer needs to have his name corrected as well.
No, ma'am. I am A. Palmer for Augustus. F. Palmer is a relative.
Oh, you're A.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you for letting us know that, hon. Very good. Are there any other corrections to the meeting minutes? And if not, can we entertain a motion to accept as presented and corrected?
I motion that we accept the minutes with the noted corrections.
Okay, is there a second? Second. All right, let me put that down. All right, please cast your votes. Motion and second.
Wilhelmy.
Accept. Yes. Pearson.
That motion carries with Mr. Lewis out. Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on. I want to just check on a couple things. I think it would be good, Natasha, if we could see what Angela has just shared with us. Let us take a couple minutes to please walk through this because we're getting ready to vote on General Counsel, Clerk of Commission. Were there any speakers requesting to be heard today?
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Mr. Green had requested, he just sent me an email saying he's not going to appear today. Okay. So, but Madam Chair, I would like to ask if there's any that's in the audience that they be given an opportunity because
certainly
of the Okay,
Understand?
all right. So,
All right, so let us back up then. Let's receive Dr. Kesey first.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I honestly wasn't sure I'd be able to speak today, so I didn't prepare anything other than what I had prepared for Tuesday. And so that I had given that to you, but that's what I want to talk about. I initially intended to speak on Tuesday about agenda items, including the motion to rescind the previously approved public town halls. However, on Tuesday, I was compelled to address a more fundamental concern. The public notice issued on January 28th states that the committee was rescheduled its regular Thursday meeting to today and Tuesday at noon. And it does not state that the Thursday meeting would still occur. It does not describe Tuesday's meeting as discussion only. Based on that notice, a reasonable member of the public would understand that Tuesday's meeting replaced regular meeting. And my understanding is that several members of the public thought that that was a replacement, and they are not here today. It is my understanding, based on communication circulated after that notice, that the agenda was issued, that votes would not occur. And it didn't occur because we didn't have a quorum. And that change was not reflected in the agenda that was brought to the public. And we're seeing today that that agenda was simply just moved and copied to today's meeting. Either way, the public was not given sufficient information to understand what would happen on Tuesday. And based on the information provided across the official calendars and notices, I wanted you to know the Thursday meeting was taken off the CRC website. However, if you went to the government site and the calendars, this Thursday meeting was still listed. So that's very confusing for the public. And so we need to make sure that if one is taken off, that it's across the board that we do these things. From the public's perspective, this conflicting information across official sources should not have to reconcile multiple things. I shouldn't have to. In fact, I found out about the Tuesday meeting by accident. And I shouldn't have to do that because we have it set every 2 months, other Thursday. It's on my calendar, and I live by my Google Calendar, guys. So I don't go to the website to double check that there are changes. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that does that. So when they change, one of the things that I've noticed is when the Board of Elections had special meetings, I get updates. I get news updates. I subscribe to those. So I'm not sure if that's a possibility that any changes in meeting schedules and what is happening from the CRC, especially if we go to scheduled town halls, if those could be sent out to those people who subscribe to those updates, that would be very, very beneficial. So my request is that we need to not shift meetings, or that we let people know further in advance than just a few days, and the agendas need to match what is going to happen so that people have their expectations, so that we know what's going to be discussed and all of that. Like I said, I came here not knowing whether I would be able to speak because I had signed up to speak on Tuesday. And so we should be noticing correctly. They should reflect what will actually occur, and the calendar should be consistent. And so this helps the public know what's going on, and it builds that public trust, because that's what we need to do.
Thank you. May I ask you a question?
Sure.
All right, I'm confused by the public notice issued on January 28th. States that the committee rescheduled its regular Thursday meeting to today.
it rescheduled. Yeah, I've got a copy of that.
Please send that
notice.
to me because
Okay,
I don't believe that came from me.
all right. And that's what it said. That's why it said that it rescheduled the Thursday meeting to Tuesday.
So we are still on the every other Thursday schedule, but we need to talk about that today, and the committee has to decide how we're going to handle a couple things. That'll be happening later in this meeting.
And while I'm talking to you, you asked me to provide some suggestions for voter education.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I sent it out this morning.
Okay, no worries. Happy to have it.
I also sent out, the other thing I was working on, and that's why I decided to separate it, was to give you sample scripts, a 90-second script, a 60-second script for videos of a 3-minute, a 5-minute. So how we can put that together, and a sample handout that you might hand out that outlines the primary changes, but then also talks about what's the difference in an ordinance and charter language. So that's what I was working on. I'm sorry it took so long, but it's in your emails, guys.
Bless you for your help with that.
Sure thing.
I think we'll be talking this weekend. Thank you. Ms. Bonner, I believe someone else wanted to speak as well, but let's acknowledge Mr. Gaines first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Kesey, I just wanted to, first of all, say thank you for your participation and your continued engagement with the Charter Review since the beginning. I really do appreciate that. Also, in reference to what you were mentioning, I think it goes right along with the transparency that this Charter Review Committee process has been having. And so I definitely appreciate you advocating on behalf of the community. And I do appreciate the continued suggestions and ideas that we can do to make this process a little bit more efficient. So thank you for that.
Mr. Plunkett, could I have a word with you for a moment, please? I want to make sure I'm not confusing that. Like Zena and I talked about the other day, if you can look at that one, we're looking at this other thing. All right. Thank you, sir. Ms. Natasha, could we please pull up what Angela has circulated for the body, because we're going to have to read this as a group. Angela, does she have that copy there? Yeah. Okay, good.
Mr. Jones, did you want to speak, sir? No, ma'am. Okay. Thank you. You're welcome.
Mr. Funch did not want to speak.
Mr. Fudge,
You're observing today?
I'm sorry. I know Mr. Richard had mentioned it.
I was confused about the meeting. I was surprised that it actually occurred today, once it all got.
The attorneys have said that we will meet on the appointed dates unless the meetings are officially canceled, which may be the case going forward. So, and I was unaware that there were 2 city calendars because I'm not a city employee. So that is good to know as well. All right, let us read this. Let us give Ms. Bonner several minutes to see if we can get copies of this, because I do think it's an important thing to add to the record. Good information. I actually have that copied at home, but it's good. What's that?
Can we discuss other things while we wait? We could address this whole meeting thing.
She wants there to be a brief recess while she's gone.
It would be better to have a recess because we need a clerk.
So she's breaking.
Excellent. So we're going to have a brief recess while we make copies for the body and for the media.
Just without objection.
Without objection, folks? Okay, thank you. So let's take about another 2 minutes to review this. I do want to point out one thing that is not correct on the document we just passed out, if I can find my. So the city of Savannah, it says they have an in-house legal office headed by a city attorney who is a city employee. That is not correct.
If I may,
Please.
Madam Chair, in fact, Ms. Ms. McLean and I were just discussing this, and she was giving me a little some more information. Bates Lovett is a member of a law firm out of Atlanta, but he also serves as their full-time. I'm not. Well, he's a member of a law firm in Atlanta, and he refers to himself as the appointed attorney for Savannah. So they kind of have almost a hybrid. I think that's the best word. He's listed as the city attorney, but in his webpage for his law firm, he refers to himself as the appointed attorney for Savannah. So it's he's kind of both, if that makes sense. So he is not exclusively Savannah's attorney.
That's right.
So I just want you to be aware of that.
Very good.
Madam Chair, if I can ask a question.
Please.
Mr. Plunkett, in that case, though, the city of Savannah did not hire a law firm as general counsel. They hired a single attorney, correct? Even though he's part of a law firm in Atlanta, they hired a single attorney, not a firm.
That's my understanding. They have a designated individual, which is Bates Lovett. And I was looking at his webpage. He refers to, Bates also serves as the appointed city attorney for the city of Savannah in that role, and it continues on what he does in that capacity. Some places do have firms, but generally, even if it's a firm, there's going to be someone in that firm that's designated as the point person for those representations.
Okay, are there any other questions of the body here? Yes, ma'am.
Are we discussing city attorney right now?
That's the
Okay.
next one on the agenda, huh?
Do we call that for recess?
We need to clock back in after the recess. Thank you. All right, Ms. Backus?
So I guess and I know I had asked the question in the workshop, I'm still not really completely understanding why the city attorney or the general counsel would not be an employee of the city. But also I did see in the suggested language from Carl Vinson Institute, I thought when I had left the meeting, because I had to get to the homeless task force meeting, that we had decided that it would be an individual attorney as general counsel and not a firm. And so employing a firm concerns me. And I know I shared those concerns during our workshop, but I think when you employ a firm, essentially every single meeting you could have a different attorney depending on how many attorneys are in that firm sitting at that table. And so when you're looking for consistent work, because this attorney might interpret something differently, so everything's going to be chaos in my mind. I would anticipate that because everybody's not going to think exactly the same way. Also, we've talked a lot about ethics and conflicts of interest. And I think when you're hiring a whole firm, that expands very greatly expands the chances of having conflicts of interest. Because how are you going to tell the other attorneys in your firm that they can't take on this client? And we are still a small town. We might have a lot of people, but we are still a small town. So I would just be very concerned about us having it in this verbiage that says that we can employ a firm and not an individual attorney.
Do either of you wish to respond to that, or just?
I mean, I can. So there are certain, if you hire an external attorney and that is not in solo practice, but is in a firm, what you're engaging is oftentimes the ability of coverage and depth. Same way if you have a law department that has multiple attorneys, you have depth. For instance, Ms. McLean has shown up and sat in this chair on multiple occasions, and, we may or may not have, we are very consistent, but we may have certain nuanced differences on a number of legal matters. Every Wednesday we talk as a group, and we have a little different thoughts in our law department. So you're always going to have that when you have different people giving you advice. As far as the conflict issues, in my particular firm, we refer to legal conflicts and social conflicts. So in other words, there is the idea that the state bar, which governs our ethics issues, defines what a conflict is. What social conflicts are things that we would feel that we might be compromised, that somebody would question, are we deciding something yay or nay, or representing a client? And we oftentimes defer, even though we don't legally are prohibited from that. And then the other thing is that your concern here, which I think is reasonable to address, is the appearance of impropriety or the appearance of a conflict. And so we have this come up with outside counsel as well. We've had that come up this year. And it's a very frank conversation that if, when we have a client and someone wants to take a case that's opposed to it, it's either we accept one representation or we take the other representation. So, there are certain limited circumstances where there isn't a direct conflict, but what we'll do is create it's a politically incorrect statement, but a wall that, materials won't go from one side to the other. And there's always the potential that if there is, in fact, a potential or actual conflict, both clients can be advised of the situation and it can be waived. So it's an informed consent issue. So I don't think that saying that you could hire a firm, I believe Columbia County considers Hull Barrett as their counsel, but Chris Driver is their point person. If you were to hire a firm in, I don't think it's the case, but someone referenced Macon Bibb, that is James Bates is where Mr. Grover is. And Mr. Grover's there, but I imagine from time to time, people from James Bates' firm handles things, and it's just depth issues. So, saying that you want to hire an individual, I don't think that makes a lot of difference. But I think that if the person is external, it is likely and probably preferred that the individual is in a firm because of depth and the ability to sound things out. So I think but that's obviously the will of this body, how they would want to designate that. For instance, currently I am the designated county attorney, not my firm, or interim general counsel, I guess is the way, for clarity.
Ambiguities there. I believe the language that Carl Vinson supplied you is pretty much on point. These agencies have their own city attorney. And if you look on Savannah's website, Bates Lovett is the city attorney for Savannah. He's employed there. The difference is, as with Savannah and Chatham County, it's the contract. It's like when you hire an administrator, you have a contract. With the attorneys in-house here, we're not under contract, but let's say the general counsel will be under contract. The attorneys there, like Chatham County's attorney, he has a contract, and the contract enables him to maintain his practice. So as long as it does not conflict, he can have both. So he has like two jobs. He is the county attorney, and he also has a firm. With these, I don't think I know any legal department in the state where they cannot employ outside counsel. Because when you get in highly specialized areas, as an attorney, you don't want to risk your bar license. So if it's a tax law issue, it's this mass tort or something like that, you usually bring in outside counsel. And a lot of, just about everyone, when we go to our conferences, we talk to other agencies, and they all do this. So the language is there. If you want to look on Savannah's website, it's spelled out there. They don't have a, it's all contractual. So he's under contract, but he's also an employee, and they have an inside law. They have a law department. Okay, that's how it works.
Okay, Ms. Robinson, thank you both for your input. Ms. Robinson?
The clarity for me, and Ms. McLean, maybe you can help me with that, would be if are they contracted as a contractor, or are they an employee?
They're an employee, just like our administrator is an employee, and they have a contract. So it may go year for year, but the terms of the contract are embedded in. I don't know the specific terms of his. Sure. I just recall when they hired him. It's a very public issue, and you can find it online, but they're all under contract. And so if he's with a firm, he can maintain his whatever he does with that firm, but he's still full-time with the county. It's not like they pay him hourly. He gets the salary or whatever. So I don't know what their pension is or whatever, but it's spelled out within the terms of their contract.
Okay, I think that's probably the clarifying information that may be missing here, is if they're an employee or a contracted employee, do they get the same benefits?
They have law departments with staff and staff attorneys, they just like ours.
Okay.
And it's spelled out here, so yeah, so it's.
Okay.
Thank you. The attorney, as it is currently structured and the way it is here, is that they are at-will employees. So if you're not happy, you introduce a motion, and that's the way it's handled. There are no retirement benefits paid, no salary paid. It is strictly by the hour. Ms. Backus?
Just to clarify, there is salary paid, but for their contract, but there's no pension. Like, they get paid to do the work. So
the difference is they do have a pension. Okay. The difference was, and I believe Lori pointed it out, that language, the county attorney. So when they consolidated that language from when it was a county and a city, and they were using an outside firm as the county attorney, if you're like an independent contractor, you cannot get the city's benefits, okay? So that was specific. That doesn't apply to the consolidated government and the general counsel, the general counsel is an employee, and the general counsel does qualify for benefits. Okay, that's the difference.
So I just wanted to respond back to something Attorney Plunkett had said. You gave the example that Attorney McLean has sat in your seat sometimes when you were unavailable, and that would be potentially one benefit of having a firm, but we still will have a law department. So Attorney McLean could still fill that spot as need be, or another attorney. This isn't also getting rid of the ability for outside counsel for specialized matters. I think that's still in there. The only concern I have is for general counsel. Should it be a law firm or an individual? And I feel like it should be an individual. When it's general counsel, I want it to.
It already says it right there.
Yeah, it says a law firm rather than an individual may be designated.
Oh, rather.
Yeah. So that would be my concern. I want to know if you're being paid to do the work for the city, that your allegiance is here. We have a law department. They're employees of the city. We know where their allegiance is. It's not going to, I just think it decreases the potential for conflict of interest as well. I don't think that there's any benefit to having a firm versus an individual attorney.
If I may, Madam Chair, so y'all can understand how it works today and how it's worked historically, and I think I understand your point, and I think I may have suggested language that may help you, is that we initially started on an interim basis, on an hourly basis. Then we went to a flat fee. And that is, there are other lawyers in our firm that have historically done hourly work that continue to do that. But John Manton and I are on a flat fee. That was that. And that way we provide is much or as little, and I'll tell you it's much more than little, services in that regard. Historically, Augusta started off with a county attorney, Jim Wall, and my law partner, Steve Shepard, and Todd Boudreau, and then they went to an in-house attorney. All those times, people used outside attorneys. I think that what you're asking for is that if you designate a firm, that the firm designates a person to serve as the attorney for the city. So, and you could just say that either if you hire a firm, they designate an attorney, or alternatively, that you can have an attorney who may be a member of a firm. I think that's the issue, but, I personally still do a little bit of work, but I will tell you it is, I do stuff for my old probate clients, but I spend probably 70 hours a week on city work, so I don't do a lot of other stuff. So I don't think you have that, but if you're really concerned about, I want the loyalty of that person, one is our ethical obligations protect you there, but more importantly, if you wanted to say that the person may be a member of a firm, as opposed to designating a firm, that would also kind of work. I know that I think y'all mentioned the school board previously, and Larry Fletcher is the school board attorney, but his firm does work. My firm is designated, I'm designated right now, but my law partners do some work. Jim Wall was the same way. He did work, and so did Harry Revel and Jim Ellison and Thomas Burnside to some extent. So it's really just the idea that you're having someone that is to serve in that capacity, to be the lead attorney, and that person, I think the language says, would manage the in-house attorneys. And that's an important component that the old language really didn't tie those two together, and that's why that's there. But I think that saying that the person could be a member of a firm probably addresses most of your concerns, but there's still a named individual in that regard.
So from what I'm reading, it doesn't actually state that the general counsel cannot be a member of a firm. It doesn't say that. It just says that a law firm can be the general counsel. But my concern with what you're saying, if the firm designates that lawyer, what if what if I choose your firm because I really like the way you do business, but then your firm says, actually, we're going to put Manton up. Sorry, Manton, don't mean any offense by that, just as an example, but that's not the person. So why not just hire that individual person as a member of a firm, but not the firm? What is the benefit in hiring the firm if we can just choose the attorney we actually want to have?
So I can give you a little bit of reference to that in the state. And I fully understand, and I tend to agree with you. Designating the person is important. That's who you're hiring. That's the person that, hopefully in my case, you don't, but that's the person you fire. I don't like your services, you're gone. I can't make you allow me to represent you. You can give me a contract, you may owe me money, but I'm not appearing for you. Once I'm gone, I'm gone. There's no progressive discipline. There's nothing else. I'm just gone. But there are a number of small school boards around the state. And there's a firm, and Ms. McClain can think of the firm, it's, I believe, out of Gainesville, and they represent tens of school boards. And the firm is thought of as their counsel. And so, you may have school boards that are meeting on the same day, so they have to have someone be able to appear, but they all don't have the needs of a full-time person. But for a city the size or county consolidated government size of Augusta, saying that you want to designate a attorney, but I think that for people 2 years or 5 years down the road, having that person may be an attorney affirmatively stated is probably beneficial if you are inclined to change this language to some degree. That way we don't get into that it has to be an individual who has no other firm relationship.
And I may add, in the work session, I believe Ms. Brill had brought that very same point up to allow the commission flexibility. Allow them the ability to make that shot call for themselves versus us making the decision for them. Okay, Mr. France, did you have your light on? Okay. All right. Is there a motion to approve the language as submitted from Carl Vinson? Ms. Backos?
I would make a substitute motion to. Oh, well, I would make a motion to accept the language with the elimination of the last sentence in section B.
Second.
All right. All right. Does anybody have any further discussion on this? All right, let's go ahead and cast votes then.
Is it the first, can you repeat your motion?
Motion to accept as written with the elimination of the last sentence in section B.
Last sentence. One last sentence in section B.
A law firm rather than an individual.
A law firm rather than an individual may be designated as Augusta attorney.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I feel it's important that the last sentence of section B be retained. I can't.
But have we voted on the motion that's on the floor?
No, we're in the discussion phase, about to call for a vote, but there's a, all right, so we'll,
You need to vote.
we will vote and we'll, okay,
Madam Chair,
sir.
I think it's some confusion on which language we're talking about on which document.
Gonna put it
Could we
on the
put it out,
screen
which
for-
language? We have two different
You're
documents.
referring to section 4-12-B.
Madam Clerk, I think I made the edit on this document with striking through the language she was referring to. Natasha, can you go just a little bit higher up? That's, I think that's what she, I think that's what you had asked.
So everybody see that on your screens? Oh, dear. Any further questions, and otherwise cast your votes? We're back in voting.
Madam Chair.
I vote no.
Mr. Pearson.
No.
That motion fails with Ms. Wilhelmy voting no, Mr. Pearson voting no.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
As submitted. That is Powell.
Mr. Powell,
Shea.
Mr. Fouché.
We're in discussion. I'm sorry. Mr. Fouché, did you want to add to that?
I have a second.
Okay. And we have Ms. Robinson.
So clarifying here, in the language, it says the attorney shall at all times be an independent contractor, but we just had a whole discussion about the attorney being an employee. So
The difference is, as it is currently proposed here, it's an at-will employee, not, you don't have to go through all the city stuff. It is, if the commission votes to fire, it's done.
I mean, that's Georgia law regardless.
Right, that's correct. And so to the extent that they're an employee as opposed to an independent contractor, are you guys 1099, Jim?
So could you rephrase your question?
Explain the difference between how you are an outside independent attorney as opposed to an in-house salaried attorney.
So if I was a salaried employee, I would receive a W-2. As a independent contractor, I receive a 1099. I have independent contractors are historically assigned a task, but that person is free to fulfill those obligations as they need. Historically, we think of independent contractors versus employees maybe in the kind of a roofing organization. And you may tell the person to roof the house, that would be an independent contractor. If you told them when to be there, how to do it, when to show up, what to wear, and provided all the tools, then they would be, even though you called them an independent contractor, they would be deemed a W-2 or employee for liability purposes and things of that nature. So this is basically saying that you'll have a person that is not participating in the retirement benefits and things of that nature. They would not have the progressive discipline benefits under the PPPM. It would just be that they're employed, or they're engaged is a better word to say. They're engaged to serve those duties, and that that serves for as long as the body wishes to have that person serve, him or her. And at the end of, if they become dissatisfied with a vote of 6, that person no longer serves as your attorney.
Okay. I would like to make a substitute motion. Bear with me, y'all, because we just talked about not hamstringing our commission. So what I would like to do is propose that we accept the language and adjust sentence 2 of section B. Instead of saying the attorney shall at all times be an independent contractor, the attorney may be an independent contractor. The reason to update that is the potential for the commission at later point decide they want an actual employee versus an independent contractor.
Is there a second?
So just for clarification, you're suggesting that it just be may instead of shall?
Correct. The shall is a definitive, whereas may gives flexibility.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Further discussion? We have Mr. Gaines.
That's cool.
You had your, okay. All right, so if there's no other discussion, cast votes.
Substitute motion. Yes, Mr. Fushi.
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, I did say I second that. Just to be clear, we only changing the verbiage is changing the shall to may. Correct? Thank you.
One word change.
I can restate. I motion that we accept the language as given with the exception of the second sentence of section 4.12 B. The attorney may be an independent contractor.
Please cast your votes. I think it's smarter.
Madam Chair.
No?
Mr. Pearson. That motion fails. Let me read it.
All right.
See. Wait a minute. You had 6 noes. Yes, sir.
Madam Chair.
Sir,
I'd just like to remind the body that I think that the points that Ms. Backus made in reference to one specific attorney being present to work on the city matters, I think that's very important. We're all human at the end of the day, and so when we start looking at things that can tend to drop the ball and stuff, everyone doesn't always take great notes, and they don't always pass information down to the next person. And so I think she made some very valid points when she said that, you know, we all interpret things differently. I mean, you can go to any attorney's office and they can interpret things from a different way. But I think the motion that she originally put on the floor, I think it does serve the best interests of the city. Now, in reference to the other stuff, reference to the independent contractor, I mean, I'm open to work with you all on that, but I don't know what everybody's thoughts is in reference to a law firm versus an actual individual attorney.
I think Ms. McLean made the point that the attorneys are designated in the contract, the lead attorney, and that's where that gets taken care of.
So what's the reason for us being against this then? Why we can't spell it out specifically here?
Because
I get what you're saying about it spelled out in the
It takes it
contract.
to may as opposed to shall, and I understand why you could go either way on it, but I just feel that the original one that I voted against was to preserve the option for the commission. It is their prerogative to decide if they want one human being with no backup or a firm with a designated lead and a designated second. It's not uncommon. There's nothing nefarious about it.
So you think that we're basically tying the commission's hand by taking out that last sentence there?
I personally don't want to see that happen, but yes.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mr. Fouché.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with your assessment that the commission should be the one delegated to making those decisions for this body and not unelected officials. We have a motion and a second for the language as written by the Carl Vincent Institute.
All right. Any additional discussion? Ms. Robinson.
So I'm confused. In one sentence, y'all want the commission to have a decision, but in the next, you don't? I'm confused because the shall does not give them the opportunity to make a decision. They have to do it because it's shall.
The second sentence says may.
No, it says shall.
Read the last one. The law firm, rather than the individual, may be designated as the Augusta attorney.
Right, but the shall is the independent contractor piece. So you're giving the commission the ability to make adjustments whether they want a law firm or not, but you're not giving them the ability whether they want an employee or not.
So I believe the reason I feel that way and why I do feel this way is that for the same reason we're employing an independent auditor. I think it's a good secondary check. It's a guardrail for the public.
But the independent auditor is an employee.
He is not, whoever that person's going to be is independent in the same sense that a county attorney should be independent. It's a yin and a yang of in-house versus outside that has to work together. So I don't know how to explain it better than that.
No, I get it. It's just conflicting, but sure, whatever, move on.
Okay. Mr. Bryant.
Madam Chair, based on the recommendation and the wording from the Carl Vinson, I call for the question on the motion.
Can I get a clarity? Who seconded that for Mr. Fouché? Mr. Powell? Okay.
No, it was a motion by you.
You made the motion, I'm sorry, okay.
Okay, and the question has been called. Let's go ahead and cast our vote.
Where do we cast on our votes on? I didn't hear a motion.
To accept language as submitted.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Madam Chair.
I vote yes.
Mr. Pearson. That motion carries 7-3, with Ms. Robinson voting no, Ms. Bacchus voting no, Mr. Eric Gaines voting no.
Okay, thank you. Let us move on to the recommendation for the Augusta clerk. For clarity, for Ms. Bonner's sake, this doesn't even come into play unless there's a vacancy, which, please God, we don't have anytime soon. All right.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Gaines?
just before we start, I just had a question for Ms. Bonner. Was just curious to know what the process was like beforehand, because I know we've got language here that Carl Vincent Institute mentioned that it should be standardized across the board, meaning the mayor suggests, provides 3 recommendations here, or 3 candidates. So I was just curious to know what was the previous process prior to consolidation, how they went about making that decision.
Well, since I've been in the chair since both, when we had a vacancy under city council, when our then city clerk retired, at that point, then Mayor Charles Devaney recommended to the commission that I be appointed clerk, because there was the relationship there. So that's how that happened. And when we consolidated, the consolidated government agreed to continue with the appointed clerk for the new consolidated government.
So effectively, there is no policy that we can refer back to.
No.
It's not spelled out, which is one of the things we have to correct this time. The process is what we're correcting. Okay, so we have, let me see here, Ms. Robinson.
I motion that we accept the language for section 4.14 as given by the Carl Vincent Institute.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion, a second. Are there any questions or comments? If not, let's go ahead and cast our votes. We're voting to accept the language from Carl Vincent for section 4-14 for how the Augusta clerk gets appointed in the event of a vacancy.
I won't get in trouble. I want you to know that it's a commission decision.
Yes, that's correct. No, it absolutely is.
Yes.
And that's embedded in the language too, so.
Yes.
Is it appropriate for me to acknowledge Mr. Jones here a second? Is it? Not right now, apparently. Can't take it at this point, I'm sorry.
Madam Chair.
I say vote yes.
Mr. Pearson?
Yes.
Okay. It's unanimous.
Thank you. All right, and that moves us on to an item that's been on this agenda for at least 3 meetings now. Mr. Fouché, I think, accepted Ms. Robinson's language from a working session 3 meetings ago. Would you like to make this motion? Well, that's just accepting the.
Madam Chair, we need a little bit more explanation for the motion.
We might have to go look on the website because we don't have that.
What for? You talking about the equal opportunity?
Yeah.
I got it right here.
Do you good? Yeah. Would you like Ms. Bonner to read it in?
I mean, that's up to you all. Just make sure that's the correct document. The section 1-40.
It is.
We'll make them available. Do you have a copy?
I'm using Eric's because
Okay, you don't have yours. Okay. Equal Opportunity, Section 140A. Government of Augusta, Richmond County shall encourage the meaningful involvement in its operations of all citizens of Augusta, Richmond County in accordance with federal and state EEO guidelines and procedures. The commission shall afford equal opportunities for employment and promotion to all persons in business. B, it is the policy of Augusta, Richmond County to secure the most qualified and talented individuals for employment, vendor relationships, provision of goods and services. C, in furtherance of these policies stated in subsection A and B of this section, the commission shall employ a person to serve as equal opportunity director. The director shall develop and, subject to the approval of the commission, implement such policies, procedures, and guidelines as the director deems necessary or appropriate to ensure equal opportunities are taking place for all citizens, and that licensed contractors and businesses residing in Augusta, Richmond County are given preferential consideration. D, the commission shall establish a citizen advisory council to advise the commission and director on matters pertaining to this section and its enforcement.
I have found a copy of that. You've read it correctly with the addition of one word in section B being added. That section should read, it is the policy of Augusta Richmond County government to secure the most qualified and talented individuals for employment, vendor relationships, and provisions.
Oh,
Your microphone is on.
okay.
Yeah, I don't, Madam Chair, that document that I provided, that was the most recent one that we had gotten in the work session. And also just to kind of provide clarity to the public, this is something that we had been talking about at the last meeting, if I remember correctly. And we had our, it was our director, it was Dr. Jackson. I can't remember what her position was, but she came before the, okay. She came before the body with some suggested comments, and I do remember in our work session that Carl Vince Institute had mentioned that some of those things were repetitive and that we needed to kind of clean up the language. And so I know it was at the advice of Dr. Facer.
This does that.
Yeah, I just don't remember. Is that the document that they gave us, though?
No, it is not.
Yeah, because the document that I gave Madam Chair was the one that.
We rejected that in our work session.
Okay. Okay. Well, whichever one that pleases this committee here, I'm fine to go with.
They're very close, and while you brought up compliance, I want to tell you that the other thing that Carl Vinson had said was that a lot of what Dr. Jackson wanted us to do rightfully belongs in ordinance. The workaround was after the meeting, I spent about an hour with her and Mr. Williams, and they are writing a proposed plan that meets all of that will go under my section of the report.
Okay.
So, and they've got a lot of good ideas. Okay, so thank you, Ms. Natasha. All right, vendor relationship and provision of goods. I see, so it's one word added in. Pardon?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Is there any further discussion on this? Okay, we had, was it Mr. Powell or Mr. France?
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Okay,
The only,
let's put the motion in place first so that we can properly discuss it.
okay.
All right,
So that was Mr. Fouché.
Mr. Powell made the first motion, Mr. Fouché seconded, I think. Other way around, okay, other way around. All right, and so you're okay to go, Mr. France? Go ahead with your question.
Madam Chair, I was just reading to make sure that once, I'm trying to see if I can find it, see if it's still in there. Potential hiring the most qualified personnel to do the job. However, giving preferential consideration to citizens of Augusta. I'm always in favor of, helping our own, but if they're not the most qualified, I think it should be the most qualified vendor that we give the highest consideration.
You're referring to the last phrase in C, the last sentence?
Correct.
So, Madam Chair, I think we covered that in section B in the first sentence.
Okay. Robert, does that sound right to you?
Cover that.
I think we covered that in the first sentence of section B. It's the policy of Augusta Richmond County government to secure the most qualified and talented individuals.
Madam
Okay.
Chair.
Sir? I think Ms. Robinson was next. After.
I distinctly remember that we were told we can't have the preferential treatment for Augusta in there. We were told that in the meeting.
By Carl Vinson?
Yeah, and Dr. Jackson referenced that.
Oh dear, okay.
So I would like to make a substitute motion that we not vote on this today until we have the actual correct language that we want, because it's a lot of hemming and hawing.
Madam Chair. We got people in the queue.
Can I go in order of who was in the queue, please, just for a second? I think the coach was next.
I don't know if a substitute motion is necessary. I just think that we need to provide the committee with the language that had been provided by Carl Vinson as it relates to this issue. Because what I think we have, because we've discussed it several times, there's several renderings running around, and I don't know if the one on the board now is the last one that we dealt with. So I would just table this discussion until the committee can be provided with the document that's being presented for approval.
By acclamation, is that okay with this body that we push it to the next meeting to make sure we have the right copy? All right, that's what we're going to do then. Table. So this is an excellent segue to new business where we do have to make a couple decisions here.
Madam Chair.
Sir.
If I may, when you are pondering this issue, I spoke to, and I'll be speaking with Mr. Pinnick tomorrow. We discussed the potential language of additional consideration versus preferential. I believe currently they're scored as having some number of points for being local. And if the idea is to give consideration to a local business, the additional consideration may sound less discriminatory than preferential. So something for y'all to consider till the next meeting.
Very good. Thank you for the addition of that. All right, Mr. Palmer.
I just want to echo what Judge Plunkett has said. My notes reflected our last meeting that we went over this, that we struck through the word preferential, and we did substitute additional consideration. That's what my notes reflect.
That's good to know, and that'll help. I think if we, by acclamation, move it to the next meeting, we'll certainly recap that. Everybody can shoot bullets at it ahead of time so that we arrive at the meeting with the actual thing. All right, Mr. Gaines.
Madam Chair, don't we have Dr. Facer on the line?
We do.
Okay, so I don't know if this is something that he could speak to, or if he even has the documents there present. But yeah.
We've tabled it to the next meeting, so we need to kind of honor that.
Respond to this, or would you?
Well, I'm not sure I'm clear. So the question is on the policy process.
So Rex, we'll go ahead and table this to the next meeting and have a real clean copy so everybody can see exactly what we're proposing.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep. All right, thank you for hanging in here with us. So on to new business. And we need to have a discussion about, first off, the motion to rescind, whether it's necessary or not. But I want to back the conversation up a little bit further than that. There was tremendous discussion online last Thursday and Friday about why the called meeting. And the opinion was about town halls. That was not the purpose for why I requested a called meeting. It would have been too easy, and it got into the weeds. Questions were asked that I was not going to answer, that because it's just personal conversations are not part of this process, but say I wanted further clarification on who, when, and how I was supposed to respond to questions. So here is a situation I'm looking for this body to brainstorm as a unit. How do we want to handle this going forward? Eric, you still have your light on while we're talking?
Well, I thought you were talking about this new business here.
I am, but we haven't gotten to the motion yet. Okay. So here is the conundrum we find ourselves in. If Dr. Facer, you chime in on this because I want to make sure I'm not saying anything that is not excruciatingly correct. Effectively, with the exception of that last motion, which will be a real simple 30-second vote if we all agree on the language, we're out of business. We have nothing to bring meetings together for at this juncture. The only time a meeting would be triggered going forward would be if Carl Vinson either asks for clarity or if they're bringing us verbiage they want us to thoroughly pore over and then meet to approve or amend. Excuse my voice. So I understand people have schedules. I understand everybody's not retired. We need to, as a body, devise a solution to how we respond nimbly on these things. And I believe Ms. McLean has got a couple thoughts too, but let's go with Ms. Robinson.
One thing we have to consider is that this whole process is not just simply based on this committee, it is also based on access to the public.
Right.
So it would behoove us to continue with the schedule we have and
Absolutely.
meet if necessary and cancel if not. That way we continue with what the expectation of the public is.
Statutorily, that is the way it's supposed to go, and that we don't have a choice in that. We are booked into these dates. If we cancel them for lack of business, then we do. But we have to figure out now what if we do it 3 days in advance, 2 days in advance. Please tell me as a body how we want to do this, Mr. Gaines.
Madam Chair, I just say I think that we should stick to how we initially started when this committee was formed. So I do believe that there are times when things probably need to probably step outside of the normal practices. But I believe that how we've been communicating via email works as long as we can give proper notice to the public. But
So are you saying that if a need arises, I'm to call a meeting?
no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we stick what we have for right now, but if there is a true need that we need to call a meeting that, is brought before the committee members to see if those dates work, because I know everyone has different schedules that they're working within right now.
So in our town meetings, we heard repeatedly from several individuals that wanted to bring our final product back to the commission. And I don't have heartburn with that at all. If that's going to happen, and then you've got to get it to the delegation, you set up a real time crunch and a mess.
But I think we voted on that already.
There is nothing to say you can't add meetings or call meetings. That is documented. Ms. McLean, would you like to chime in on this? What is your recommendation as the attorney on how going forward as we have requests for endorsements from the Carl Vinson Institute? If it falls 14 days apart, that is not reasonable. So how best should this body handle the meeting to endorse what Carl Vinson is sending so that they can move on with their work? None of us can forecast how long or how short this is going to take.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Are we discussing the,
it's not the
motion to
rescind.
rescind? This is
No,
another.
this is new business relative to the call of meetings.
So,
Madam Chair,
well,
oh, go ahead, I'm sorry. I thought you wanted me to
this is
take it.
new business?
Yes,
That's not,
that is correct.
so this is entirely different?
It goes directly to point on what the motion is or doesn't have to be. That's all.
Madam Chair,
Sir.
if I may, the idea is whether or not you want to alter the rules of every other meeting starting, I think it was May 5th of 2025.
I don't necessarily think that's a wise idea. I think those meetings should stand and probably take, even if we gavel in and gavel out. But the question becomes, what happens on Monday when you get a request that says, we need decisions on these 4 topics and look at the language?
If the meeting was not scheduled until the following week, so let's say that it's, for our hypothetical, that y'all meet on odd-numbered weeks, and if Carl Vinson asks for information or response during an even week, I think the question you're asking is, would that be sufficient to call a special called meeting to discuss out of sync? And so I think it's not unreasonable, but Ms. McLean has studied Robert's rules much longer than I have. I think the question comes in, would this body feel that a request from Carl Vincent is of enough of an emergent issue to authorize the chair to call a special called meeting? I think that's really should be what the discussion should be. You know, if we, is it, there's not a, I think it's sometimes if we say something, it sounds like you're trying to push it forward, or if we say something, we're trying to delay. I think there's a question of what is the most efficient. So if Carl Vincent is trying to do something and they are at a philosophical stop and they can't move forward, recognizing that they have other jobs to do, is it reasonable for this body to move forward and have a special called meeting so that it can be discussed and then clarified and then potentially, essentially call it a workshop? And I think potentially, you know, but I mean, I'm using workshop with a lowercase w, but y'all could workshop it at that juncture to be brought to be voted on either that meeting or the following meeting. So I think it's an efficiency argument for the drafter, the scribes of what they're trying to do. And I think it would be better for this body to make a determination, is a request from the Carl Vinson Institute sufficiently urgent to be considered the basis for a called meeting. If you were to ask me generally, if Carl Vinson, without y'all all saying it, and that just came up, I probably would defer on the side that it is not a urgent matter that cannot wait to the following meeting, but I think it also possibly delays Lori's ability to draft unnecessarily. So if y'all all want to say that is reasonable to be called, then I think that would be essentially a rule of procedure that we could adopt. Ms. McLean may have different thoughts on how to determine what, whether or not this would be considered urgent or not. But I think the body could make that on definition.
Well, what I'm concerned about is, you know, items that can be handled on at a regularly scheduled meeting, you know, being placed on a special called meeting agenda. It's as if you're trying to, you know, take advantage. That's not the purpose of a special called meeting, and I think you articulated exactly what a special called meeting is. It's a matter of urgent concern, but this is just regular business that you all are handling. And I don't understand why you need to change it up at this late venture when you've been
We are
handling.
not proposing changing regularly established meetings. What I'm saying to our body is, in all likelihood, until we receive something back from Carl Vinson, there is no further business to transact.
So you
So,
can,
so our body's ability to move forward or their ability to continue to write is what's in question here. I'm talking to all my friends here. You know, there's many ways I think you could add in additional meetings, pre-schedule them. I don't know. I'm looking for ideas on this.
but if you want to go outside the regularly scheduled meeting, how you handle that is to amend your bylaws, because right now your bylaws are
That
mandatory.
takes 2 meetings too.
Well, you're right. So you can notice it at the next at this meeting, and then amend it at your next regularly scheduled meeting. And if you want to,
But yes, it's possible, I suppose. All right, what does the body feel about this?
If I may, Madam Chair, before you do that, the bylaws actually say that you'll have a minimum of 2 meetings per month. It allows you to have more than 2 meetings. So I think the question is, for y'all's debate is it reasonable that if Carl Vinson has materials ready to be reviewed and you're going to essentially suspend all meetings until that happens, is this body willing to call an additional meeting to debate that language? But I think it's toward the end of y'all's bylaws that says that you can have additional meetings. So we could call it a special call, we could call it an additional regular meeting, but the idea is that are y'all willing to meet on the opposite week if it is timely for the Carl Vinson? I think that's really the debate.
All right, let's see, we have Ms. Backus.
I just wanted to address a couple of things. At the beginning, Madam Chair, you said that your personal conversations are not part of the process. When that's given as reason and we're being told that because the commission and the legislative delegation want this meeting, and to be clear, it was not a special called meeting. It was this meeting being canceled and rescheduled to Tuesday. And then later on, it came into discussion that it was a special called meeting. We've been given like 3 different reasons why it happened. Nothing was clear at all. And the bylaws, we keep going back to the bylaws and the rules and procedures. It specifically states it needs to be a necessity. One of the concerns I have about us opening it up to, we can just call a meeting anytime Carl Vinson has stuff for us to go over, is 1, the availability and the voices of every single member up here on this dais is important, because each one of us represents a part of our community. 2, if they're giving us information, are we going to even have time to evaluate that information before the meeting comes? Because I'm imagining at this point, there's going to be a lot of information that we're going to be evaluating. So we also need to keep that in mind. 1, not only notifying our public, but allowing us time. If you had given me a meeting this week, I was on court stuff from 7:30 in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. When should I evaluate it?
So that's why I'm bringing it back to the body. Ms. Robinson.
The other thing we have to consider is the availability of space. Like, we're wanting to have special call meetings, but because nothing that we're doing requires urgency, we're not making decisions for a sinkhole that opened up in the middle of Washington Road, where we don't deal with anything regarding public safety or anything. Nothing we are doing up here requires emergency. If Carl Vinson has a question about something, that can wait till the next meeting, because writing things like this myself, it's not just one question, you're going to have 12. So we're going to have 12 different meetings? Or do we just compile the 12 together and have our regularly scheduled meeting? We have to consider how much pressure we put on our clerk. She is one person managing all the committees, managing the commission and everything else. Does she have the ability to do that? I don't think it's fair to want to have special called meetings just because we want to hurry up and get done. Because that's what it feels like the question is.
Here's a poll question for the body. Do
I
you
wasn't
see
finished.
this getting through the legislative delegation in 2026 or 2027?
I wasn't finished speaking, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry. Finish that question, and then you go ahead.
With respect to everybody involved, not just us, we should just retain what we have. Carl Vincent will do their job because they're not going to stop writing just because they have a question and it doesn't get answered. That's not how academics work. They're going to continue because they're going to have more questions. Continue as we are, and when we're done, we're done. There's no point in rushing this because when you rush things, you get it wrong.
Okay, we have Mr. France.
Madam Chair, in reference to the meetings, I think every other Thursday meeting should go on as scheduled if we have something to meet about. But if we do entertain the thought that we need to have additional meetings based on Carl Vincent needing something to that effect, then we should consider having those on the other Thursday versus a Tuesday or Monday. It's my opinion. I mean, but it needs to be, when you say a sense of urgency, this is my position. When we started this thing, or when I came on board, I wasn't here initially when this thing started, but it was a blueprint laid down on timeframes and gates and things that we were trying to achieve, timelines that we're trying to achieve. We are still trying to meet those timelines, not trying to speed things up or not trying to slow things down. I think in some instances, people say we're going too fast. Well, some people say we're going too slow. So I think we need to stick to the schedule that we had to get information to the people that it needs to get to. Make sure they have opportunity to take a look at it. But I think when we first started this thing, our purpose was to make the review. Not make the decision, just make the review and make the changes and submit it to the people that's going to make decision which way we're going to go. I think we need to stick to that. That's our charter. That's our mission, to do that and get that information to the right people for them to review it in the proper time frame so they can make a decision to get it on the ballot so we as voters can vote on it. So my position is, if we need to have additional meetings, let's do them on that even Thursday. And if not, then let's don't waste people's time.
We have Ms. Backus.
Just to answer your question as far as opinions and whether we'll get it to the legislative delegation in 26 or 27, I would say it's not our business. The resolution that created our committee, the guidelines, the framework of our committee says that our deadline is March 31st of 2026 and that we have the ability to extend by 90 days if needed. I'm not saying we should push it out by 90 days. And I really think it's unfair anytime we try and say, hey guys, we need to do this the right way. It shouldn't be about speed. The accusation is thrown at some of us that we're trying to slow the process down. But we're also ignoring, and Mr. France indicated this, some people say that we're slowing stuff down, some people say we're speeding it up. I think if we remember our job is to do this correctly, to do it the right way, we are serving our community for that purpose. So their deadlines, whatever their deadlines are for the legislative delegation and the legislature, they're not ours. Not according to the document that created us. So I would stick to what our resolution says. I would stick to what our role is. And as far as the extra meetings, Carl Vincent Institute bringing questions to us or anything like that is regular business. It is no different now than it has been this entire process. It can't have been regular business this whole time, and then now all of a sudden it's valid as an urgent issue.
Okay, Ms. Robinson.
When I joined this committee it was April or May of last year? May. We didn't have a guideline at all. We spent several months on one topic and then rushed through a whole bunch of others. So for me, I wholeheartedly think we moved too slow. I think had we had a plan, we could have been done and not be at this point where we're up against what deadlines are and what year it's going to go on the delegation or not. The other thing we need to consider is there is a distinct reason why when the consolidation resolution was, the consolidation referendum was done, it was started in 94 but not passed until 96. They took their time, and then some other things happened where they had to go back to the drawing board too. So kind of adding on to what Angela is saying, it's not our job to determine what the legislative delegation will do, because we could have done all of this, send this to them on time, and then they could come back and say no, just like they did with redistricting. So I would like us to get it right.
Me too.
More so than get it fast.
So here is the conundrum, and this is why I'm requesting some direction from this body. When you start receiving questions that you haven't got a product to produce yet, you really cannot answer questions. This body has to endorse. That chairman is not supposed to be speaking on stuff unless it has passed, when it becomes public information. So the other thing, and Rex, if you can hear us, I would love you to chime in on this. What we have to understand, and I didn't understand until our work substantially was done prior to Christmas. There were a few little items to clean up. The public expectation where I live is much the same as it is on the other side of the coin in other parts of the city. They can't understand why we didn't wrap this up and get it over with. So the answer to that is something we don't control. The writing takes place in Athens. And I have every expectation and believe that they're doing their job. But we are not the only city in the queue. And this is the other side of that coin. If I could circle back to why I put these comments ahead of the motion, it would appear from a reading of all the emails that went back and forth last week that this was about not wanting to have town halls. I want to unequivocally and for the record say it had nothing to do with the town halls. The town halls are what our charge is at this juncture, is shifting from making deliberative choices to explaining to the public the process and why we made the decisions we made, and why when that document arrives, this is what it says and why. It moves to more of an educational. So the three that we have scheduled in February, thanks to Angela, who I delegated this to, I'm going to ask her in a minute to talk to everybody about that too, but that's just the first opening salvo of process and education. There are going to be many more going forward whenever we have a date to educate the public about. Can't forecast when that's going to be. That's not our lane. So I guess what I am looking for, I have provided older information from Carl Vinson as people have requested it, and I went so far as to notice both bodies to stay out of trouble with things. Everybody got the same piece of paper. It's on our website. Reflects votes taken last fall. But I think it is not unreasonable for us to gather when we have a sufficient number of motions. If that happens the day after we have a meeting, I think it's unreasonable to wait 2 weeks. We're going to lose our place in the queue, my opinion only. So there we are. This motion to rescind was strictly to clarify prior to submission. And how am I to respond when my hands are tied like this? Okay, Ms. Robinson.
I motion that we continue our regularly scheduled meetings as we have the entire time.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion on that, Ms. Backus?
No, mine is in regards to the town halls.
Good. We'll get to that. There's a motion on the floor to continue to meet regularly, and I presume you want to add to that?
Yeah, let me update that. So my apologies. Okay. My motion is to continue our meetings as regularly scheduled and cancel them if there is nothing to discuss.
Okay. Can I ask you to add in Okay, so that, first off, Eric, you going to accept that? All right.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am?
I need to chime in because that is essentially an amendment to your bylaws.
Okay.
That motion, okay? As it now stands, you can cancel your meeting. You can cancel that under the Open Meetings Act. You can cancel meetings. But right now, as the bylaws read, it is mandatory that meetings are held. It's essentially, it's already in the bylaws. So if you want to change the frequency of the meeting, it would have to be an amendment.
Okay, I
That
rescind
you
my
can
motion
notice
then.
now and you can vote on it at your next regular
Yeah, I
scheduled
withdraw.
meeting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Ms. Robinson withdraws that. Mr. Gaines will go along with that. Mr. France?
Well, Madam Chair, again, I'll circle back to what I said previously. Regular scheduled meetings as usual. However, I would add into that based on if there's an emergency where additional meetings need to be called, that we'll call them on the Thursday off day. So if that's already in the bylaws, then if it's there, it's no need to have a vote on it. But that's just my comment.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so Ms. Backus, do you want to?
So I just want to address a couple things real quick. We really can't blame Carl Vinson Institute for the time it's taking to write everything, because in actuality, we just voted on things today. So they're not actually the holdup. We were. The document that you did share, I believe, with the commission wasn't an old document. It was from January 26th. And it was an outline of all of the decisions that have been made along with the votes. And I think that it's shared publicly with the whole public. I don't think that you needed permission from any of us to share that with anybody, because it's publicly accessible. So I think using those as reasons to not hold town halls, in reality, we have discussed this this is the fourth meeting in a row. All the way back in December, the clerk was asked to start booking these meetings. She did. She tried to. She booked a couple of them. Last month, after our vote, she again started working on it. And again, this week, when I got permission from you, she worked on it along with Parks and Rec. That's a lot of work that's gone into it. And the idea that, one, our community who has voiced their opinions and they want these, we've discussed it 3 times already. Now this is the 4th. At which time are we just going to say, okay, this is the decision that's been made, and we're going to move forward?
We made that decision last meeting. Can you update us on the dates?
Thursday.
And thank you. I want to thank you for taking that on, because that was the only way that was going to happen. I appreciate your input. Okay.
So I followed Ms. Bonner's example from the hypothetical dates that she had given you. Some of them were about 2 weeks out, up to a month out. I didn't want to push it a month out because I know that we are working towards the end. So in order to give everybody 2 weeks' notice and get substantial notice out to the public, plus they're still doing the basketball games and all that. So the 19th at Brigham, the 24th, thankfully, Parks and Rec were able to fit us in there, because otherwise their next opening wasn't until March. So I'm very grateful for Director Williams and Miss Yolanda for working with us. And then the 26th at Julian Smith Casino.
Okay. So does anybody have any questions about that? I am told that committee members that can make it will make it for sure. And I appreciate your work on that, both Ms. Bonner and Ms. Backus. Very good. I think that we should also have a discussion about maybe we should decide if we're going to take up this motion or not, or just leave it as is.
Take up what motion?
There's one about rescinding the motion it was not about town halls. That was a misnomer, but I had to put the whole motion in there anyway.
Is that even possible now that we've presented this information?
Say that again, hon?
I said, is that even possible now that we've presented this information now? We've went through and informed the public of the town halls.
you could rescind it and endorse on the next meeting, I believe. Is that correct, Ms. McLean? No,
There's not a motion on the floor.
I understand, but I guess we're asking the question, do we even need to put the motion on the floor?
No motion has been made.
All right,
It fails for lack of a motion.
okay. There we are. All right, so going forward then for this body, let's take a look at our calendars again, just to make sure everybody's on the same plate. Tentatively, we already have a pre-scheduled meeting for, if you want to write all these down, into the end of March. Today we're meeting, we'll meet in 2 weeks on the 19th. We'll meet on March 5th and March 19th. And then as needed, if needed, we will cancel those meetings. If needed, with Carl Vinson, I'm hearing this body say, just call a meeting on the Thursday, the closest Thursday, and move on. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay, go ahead.
Because our bylaws say we have to have 2 meetings, we still have to have those meetings.
We do have to have those meetings, and that's why I'm reading you the dates.
Right, I'm saying you can't just cancel them.
No, I wasn't. Well, Lord, how do we do that now?
You can't.
Ms. McLean.
You can
You're
postpone.
confusing us, because at first I thought you were talking about the public hearing. So now you're at regularly scheduled
CRC meetings.
Okay.
If there is no business to transact, how do we legally cancel a meeting?
Well, your bylaws say shall meet at least every other Thursday.
Okay.
So you can meet on one Thursday. Is it at least every other Thursday?
Okay.
So.
Okay.
If you decide to not conduct a meeting because you don't have anything to put on an agenda, you can notify us and we can give public notice that the meeting has been canceled. But the dates are on the CRC's webpage.
They have been
They go
from-
out to the end of March. So they have been public noticed.
Okay. So does everybody understand that we need to have at least a meeting every 14 days? I really would want everybody to understand, and maybe Rex, you can chime in on this and explain the unfortunate position I'm in trying to get these meetings together in a timely manner.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I have a whole lot to add, other than that we appreciate the conversation you all had, and we're doing all we can to get.
Thank you. Is there any other business to come before this body today? If not, I put it on here. I don't know if we're going to have the meeting because, again, we don't have anything that I'm aware of as of this moment. Yes, we do. What's that? Okay, so then we will meet on the 19th of February. Section 140. Section 140, that's what she's referring to. So the 19th, we'll meet. And if anybody has any other items they'd like brought up, if you'll just get them to me, because that has to be sent to our clerk by noon next Friday.
Make sure that Carl Vinson has section 140 defined for us, that would be great.
Yeah.
Already told me.
Okay. Yes, ma'am?
Rex is still on the phone. You want to relay what Mr. Fouché?
Rex, we just want to make sure we have a clean copy of what the language is for section 1-40. And that I believe we've got several iterations floating around, so we'll need to clearly label the latest one, which reflects that not the word preference, but the word additional consideration.
Okay.
And then we just need to review it for
we'll work with you all on
thoroughness.
that.
I'm sorry, hon?
He said he'll work with you all on that.
Very good, very good. All right, anybody else? I think we're adjourned. Thank you. What's that?
Yeah, okay.